The Honest Garage Podcast, where real shop owners tell real shop stories.
Today on the Honest Garage Podcast, we're talking with a shop leader who went from a 25-year career in corporate IT to co-owning and co-leading a growing automotive business while rebuilding trust in this industry on purpose. Our guest today is Stephanie Corbin, co-owner and co-CEO of Bullet Automotive and Diesel, with locations serving the Front Range in Colorado. Bullet opened in 2013 when Stephanie and her husband Sean sketched the idea out on a Chick-fil-A napkin, literally. And over the years, it's grown from a single vision into a multi-location operation, focused on honest, transparent service and changing how people think about auto repair. For more than 25 years, Stephanie built her career in corporate IT, and even while Sean was getting Bullet off the ground, she was the one behind the scenes driving strategy, handling property acquisitions, building operating procedures, managing budgeting and payroll, organizing HR, and keeping all the back office systems running smoothly. Recently, she stepped out of the corporate world and into the role of full-time co-CEO and head vision caster at Bullet Automotive and Diesel. As a Colorado native, she's passionate about delivering honest, transparent service across the Front Range and beyond, restoring trust in automotive repair, positively impacting communities, and changing people's lives one vehicle at a time. She thinks like a CEO, executes like an operator, and cares like someone who actually lives in the neighborhood she serves. In this episode, we're going to dig into how she made the leap from corporate IT to co-running a shop, what it looks like to scale without losing integrity, and how she keeps Bullet pointed at its biggest mission, not just fixing cars, but rebuilding trust. Stephanie, welcome to the Honest Garage Podcast. How are you doing today?
Thanks, David. It's great to be here. I'm having a good day. How about you?
Having a great day. Really happy to have you on the show. Before we dig into the business stuff, I'm really curious, what was your first car and do you still miss it?
Oh my gosh, my first car was a 1978 Cadillac Sedan DeVille. It was a tank, and my dad bought it for me because he said he couldn't find anything else that was suitable at the used tank dealer, so he figured that would do the trick. It got about 6 miles to the gallon on a really good day, like with a tailwind. And we won't discuss how we know that it could uncomfortably fit 17 people. So yeah, it was a good car. I do miss it for sure. It was nicknamed Hercules. Yeah, big, white, massive, and I could parallel park that thing.
They don't make them like that anymore, huh?
They do not. It was massive, but it was a good car to start with for sure. It did save me on a couple of occasions from serious injury, so that was good.
That's great. Yeah. So tell me a little bit. I know we talked about it a little bit in the open. Tell me a little bit about your story and how it got started with Bullet and going from like literally sketching something out on a napkin to where you're at today.
Yeah, so Sean had been in corporate automotive for a long time, and I was working in corporate IT. And I think that he thought that overall in the industry, there was this tendency to sell, upsell, oversell, spiff, push. Anytime there was like a deal on brake parts or whatever, suddenly everyone needed brakes. And so I think he just felt like he would like to start his own shop and sell the services that were needed and really take care of people. I think he had encountered so many people that really felt like they had lost trust in the industry, and he really wanted to rebuild that. We had 5 kids, and we did not have a lot of cash at the time, and we didn't think we could ever afford a building or get started in any way. It felt like it was not something we could dip our toe into really. But he had this epiphany one day and decided we should get a trailer. We had a dually truck that we bought from my grandfather that was used. And yeah, we sketched it out on a Chick-fil-A napkin, the name, the tagline, all the things that we wanted to see it grow into. And so in 2013, we bought a trailer and hooked it to that dually and put some branding on it and took the leap. We're a debt-free business by and large. We have real estate debt, but outside of that, nothing else. So we took a 401k loan from ourselves and pre-funded and prayed a lot and jumped in with both feet. And it ended up being way more successful than our kind of wildest dreams. You have met Sean. He's never met a stranger in his life. So he went out and made lots of customers. He had a big following already, but won over everyone else and did amazing work until we were big enough to move into a shop location.
Yeah, that's great. And tell me about your part in it, in that transition out of corporate IT and into non-corporate America, into the auto repair side. What was that like, and what did you go through at that time?
Yeah, so I think the initial goal was to eventually grow big enough. That would be the thing. But for several years, we were cooking along. He was doing mobile. And then when we bought like Bridge and Jessup, those two locations, it was still me doing the back end, back office stuff on nights and weekends. As I mentioned previously, we had 5 kids. So it was a lot to keep doing that. We bought our third location in 2021, right on the heels of COVID. And we both came down with COVID in a really severe way, actually, the day that we closed on that shop. So we had new employees and all these things that we needed to do. And we sent Brandon Morgan, who manages our Brighton locations, out. We didn't know what else to do, right? We sent him out. And I just said, I'll answer all your phone calls. I'll handle whatever I can do remotely, but we're too sick to do anything else. So he ran it for a couple of weeks until Sean got recovered. We both ended up with pneumonia. Like we were pretty ill. On the heels of that, Sean did not really recover super well. And he is the Energizer Bunny, this man. He never stops. He goes Mach 10 with his hair on fire from sun up to sundown and past that, and sometimes middle of the night, whatever. He's a busy guy, but he wasn't feeling better. He wasn't getting better. And so in early 2022, we went to see a cardiologist. I had read that there were some links between having COVID and experiencing cardiac issues. And he had some prior cardiac history. So I was concerned that he was having this level of exhaustion. Like he was taking naps in the middle of the day, which is not his style at all. I don't think he's taken a nap like since birth, probably. Like that wasn't a thing. It ended up that he had the Widowmaker. He did not experience a heart attack, but we finally got him in for an angiogram in May. And the cardiologist said he was like one platelet away from having this massive cardiac event. And recovery for him was just slow. And it was at that point that I decided it was time to shift from being on the back end of things and just managing back office to really partnering with him. He needed a partner at that point in time to do some of the more heavy lifting, as it were. And so I left corporate banking and I jumped in with both feet into this co-CEO role, and I have not looked back. It's been an amazing ride so far.
Yeah, and what an incredible story with Sean and his recovery and stuff. We see him now, and he's back to that Energizer Bunny self, and it's really great to see. I haven't known him any other way than that way, so
Yeah.
I can't imagine seeing him without that level of energy.
Yeah. I'm so grateful for his cardiologist's advice and their intervention. And we're so grateful. Yeah.
Yeah. And we're just going to take a quick pause right there and let everybody in the audience know, if you have any health concerns, please go get them checked out sooner rather than later so that we can continue doing the work that our community finds meaningful. That's just
Let me say one other thing about that real quickly. If you have chest pain, push to get to an angiogram, because this man passed every other test. He passed an EKG, flying colors, an echo, an CT scan with dye, a nuclear stress test, all the things. And he was one platelet away, that blocked. So the only way to see a blockage in real time is an angiogram. So if you have chest pain, if you're experiencing issues like that, push your cardiologist to get you an angiogram.
Yeah, that's great. Obviously, we care about the industry. We care about the people in it. We care about the people building it and doing it the right way. This is in no way are we qualified to give medical advice, but the only advice we have is go see the professionals and make sure you're taking care of yourselves so that we can continue doing the work that we love.
Exactly.
As we pivot back to automotive talk here, Tell me about what you brought with you and what Sean brought with him from the corporate world to now this independent shop owner side of things, and walk me through what you knew you were going to trash and what you knew you needed to keep.
Yeah, so we have a really, I think, unique partnership, and we really end up fitting well together. Sean brought so much operational knowledge with him. He understands suppliers and workflow and equipment and facilities and technicians. He was a technician as well. He was a service advisor as well. He was a regional manager as well. So like, he's got this very well-rounded knowledge of the front of the house kind of services and things that need to happen. Does an amazing job with all of those things and managing technicians and their expectations. Great at those kinds of things. I brought a lot of knowledge about budgeting and IT and HR and things that big corporate was doing that we've tried a lot to implement in our business. Things that have been very successful, like the 4-day work week that we have at one shop, things like improved benefits and time off structures that make more sense to me coming from a corporate level, trying to bring things like that along. I also came from like an information security background and IT, making sure that we've tightened those things up or whatever. So we've ended up really fitting well together in that arena. And I think we are really blessed to have each other, both of us, in this particular partnership because we fill in the gaps for each other along the way.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important thing to touch on. If you're looking to go into business with a partner, it's tempting to want to find somebody like-minded with similar skill sets because you can bond over it. But finding
Yeah.
somebody to cover your blind spots is a lot smarter move.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you and Sean were blessed that you had that just in the marriage already.
Sure.
Fantastic. I know that you're really passionate about restoring trust in the automotive repair industry at large, changing people's lives one vehicle at a time, as we mentioned in the opener. When you look at Bullet today, how does that show up in how you write service, communicate with customers, train your team? So it's not just a slogan, but a way of operating.
Yeah, I guess a little backstory for me, right? I don't have that automotive technical knowledge from the jump, right? I remember being 20 in Texas, living on my own, taking my car in to get fixed and having no idea of what was going on, whether what they were selling me was something I needed or didn't need, whether they were actually fixing it, how I could tell. I remember really distinctly feeling very taken advantage of, not just then, multiple times in between then and now, before Sean and I were together. And it's been my mission to make sure that no one feels that way in any of our shops. So we have driven a lot of our SOP creation around that idea. We've founded the company on 4 pillars, right? Honesty, integrity, reliability, and transparency. To me, that means that in every repair, with every single person who walks through the door, that they understand very clearly what they need, that they have a good picture for what's coming down the road, that the ticket is written in kitchen English, right? We can understand we're not using a bunch of industry terminology that somebody has no idea what that means. And we train to that every day. We talk to our employees about it. We've created our vehicle inspections around that. We have an entire process around the way we write the recommendations for each customer, processes around how we quote and what we quote and why we quote it and how we explain it. Because I don't want to ever do $3,000 worth of suspension work to a vehicle and then have a customer find out that their engine is also bad. We want to make sure that they're well educated. I liken it to how you would want to show up at the dentist, right? They do x-rays, they give you these buckets, you've got this tooth we're going to put on watch because maybe it's like starting to be a cavity. This one's a cavity and you need a filling. This one, you're going to need a crown. You might need to save up for that down the road. But you leave there with this very clear picture of what's happening and how to budget and plan. And we want to be very similar to that always. We also work really hard on our diagnoses. I know I've seen so many people bring us paperwork from some other shop where they've said this thing is wrong, but there's no, how did you test that? What did you do? What did you look at? What's the trouble tree for it? So we're also really focused on making sure that when we diagnose your vehicle, we do it right the first time, and we've given you a clear indicator of what you're spending your diagnosis dollars on.
Yeah, and I think that level of transparency really means a lot to a customer. When your goal is to keep them for a long period of time, you're not a one and done shop.
Yeah, we work really hard to do that. And I think the other thing that we really talk about a lot, and the culture I think that we've tried to generate, we work with humans. So not everyone is perfect, unfortunately. Things happen. And so I want there to be a culture where somebody can say, I broke this part, oops, and we can replace that and move along and not put that on the back of the customer. So those things are important to me from a transparency and an integrity perspective as well. So we talk about that a lot. We train that every company meeting. We go through those pillars and we talk about, what does honesty mean to you? What does integrity mean to you? What does transparency mean to you? Just so we're not parroting the words, but we have the context in our brains all the time.
Yeah, and I think it's really important that we take our mission, our vision, our values that we all have, or that most of us have as we're getting started, and we not just internalize them as owners, but help our team internalize them so that they can live up to the standards that we set.
For sure.
I think that's absolutely critical. So for anyone out there listening, really take that to heart. I know one of the hardest parts of shifting from, as business owners, that mindset of, I just got to survive. We got to do everything we can to get this thing off the ground. Now you guys are past that stage and you're in the building stage. What was that transition like, shifting from survival mode to, wow, we're building something bigger. We have a bigger purpose, a bigger calling. Can you walk me through that?
Yeah, so it was great and also hard. I think we've always known that we wanted to grow. I think we've always known that we wanted to take Bullet in a direction that we could share the way we do automotive repair with more communities in Colorado or Nebraska or New York or Florida or wherever we end up going. We've always had a big growth vision. But honestly, I think it is tough when you start and it's just you. Sean was just Sean Mobile. Brandon worked with him in the summer, so did Eli, our sons. And then moving into Bridge, where he relinquished a lot of the service writing, right? When he was mobile, he was the technician and the service advisor and the parts runner and the head chef and bottle washer, all the things. And so he's relinquishing pieces of this, right, when we move into Bridge. And it's always a little bit like nobody's ever going to do it exactly the way you do it, right? But that was our first, I guess, realization that we really needed to proceduralize how Sean would write service, and then we can train someone to that. So we started there with Bridge. When we grew into Jessup, it became evident that he wasn't going to be the head technician anymore, right? We needed to put some more technicians in place, and we have had just the good fortune, I think, to encounter amazing people along the way. Like, we have the most, if I could just take a minute to brag on our staff, all of our advisors, our management team, our technicians are some of the most amazing human beings I know on the planet. They're just good people, very like-minded, etc. But even it's a little hard to relinquish what you're doing. And certainly there were some growing pains along the way, but it drove a lot of process, I think, that ended up being good, right? We were always like, we did all of our beginning notes and everything at a Chick-fil-A. And we were like, we really do want to be the Chick-fil-A of automotive repair, right? Wherever you go to any Bullet location, you get the same great service, the same kind people, the same transparent written recommendations, it's the same plan everywhere. And so that's really driven our process over time.
Talk to me about that a little bit more, because I think it's a little bit more obvious to people about writing down, first do step one, then do step two when it comes to proceduralizing things. But how do you protect that culture element and that integrity element? How do you How do you document that? What are you telling people to make sure that you don't lose track of what makes Bullet Automotive and Diesel great as you grow and scale?
Honestly, I think that probably the foundational element to that is hiring. We work really hard to hire people that we know have our same value set and are interested in customer service really well. We have a good friend who's in the restaurant industry, and he said, I can train people to about food and how to present it and how to set the table, whatever, but I can't train them to care about the person in the seat. And I think that's really true. You have to hire the people who care about the work that they're doing and their level of integrity, and that care about the customers that walk through the door. We talk a lot about the fact that vehicles matter to people and people matter to us. So that's how we continually drive that.
Yeah, vehicles matter to people matter to us. That is a really succinct way to put that value into everything you're doing. It's people first. That's why we're in business. And I think it's easy for when you're in business and you're juggling all the bills and wearing all the hats to get caught up in profit. But it's really, at the end of the day, taking care of the customer and taking care of the people who take care of the customers.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, I love that. One thing that we ask, and you've touched on this quite a bit, but one thing we ask everybody that comes on the show is, when you hear that phrase, honest mechanic or honest shop, honest garage, obviously that means something to us, but what does that mean to you? How does that show up in what's going on every day at Bullet Automotive and Diesel?
I think to me, that means that we are going to give you a clear picture of what you need to do. We're not going to pressure you. We talk a lot about putting our customer in the driver's seat, right? They're the ones, and people make all sorts of crazy decisions about their vehicles depending on whatever's going on in their lives. Some people want to keep a vehicle forever because it has some kind of sentimental value or it's what they're comfortable with. And they will spend scads of money doing things we would never suggest that they do. The vehicle's maybe not worth that much or whatever. But I think at the end of the day, honesty is really getting to the heart of what the customer is looking for and honoring whatever that trajectory is. Some people are like, I gotta sell this vehicle. I gotta get rid of it. I can't afford to keep it's nickel and diming me to death or whatever. So then I think honesty to me is, we're not going to sell them thousands of dollars worth of work to do on it. We're going to try to help them get through what they need to get through to get it offloaded. But it comes back, I think, to that just original understanding of what they're trying to do. Are they maintaining? Do they want to keep it forever? Do they need to get by for right now? What's happening for them? And how can we do that in the best way possible? To that end, we do not incentivize any of our service riders either. They're salaried. And I think we felt like if your front of the house is salaried and your back of the house is commission, there is a good tension there between getting everything recommended that should be recommended on a vehicle and presenting it in the most customer focused way.
Yeah, really good check and balance system set up.
Exactly. So I think for us, that was from the get. We've always done it that way. We will always continue to do it that way. And that's not to say that we need to make a profit like everyone else, but
right.
I don't want to make a profit on the back of the customer. I want them to get what they need and for that to be presented in the most effective way. So to me, that's what honesty, that was a lot, but that's the picture for me.
Yeah, and as I'm listening, I know a lot of people heard that, treat others the way you want to be treated, when we were growing up. But I really feel like it needs to be amended a little bit to treat others the way that they want to be treated, is what I'm hearing from you.
Yeah, we also really work hard to have a continuous improvement mindset, right? We try not to be complacent about anything. There's always room, I think, to improve on the way we communicate with people, how we present information. We try to get down to those nitty gritty details. Do you want to get a text or do you want a phone call? Because people are different on that front. We try to be that shop. We read a book together also called Unreasonable Hospitality. If you have not heard of that book, it's an amazing one. It's by Will Gadara. It's about the restaurant industry, actually, but fascinating and I think applicable to every industry out there, trying to maintain the idea that we are in the hospitality industry, even though we service vehicles. Like, people are coming to us typically on not a great day. Most of our work is not oil change or just basic maintenance. It died on the highway, or my check engine light is on, and it's usually, repairs are expensive. We have the opportunity to treat people well during that experience. And so that's my heart for that.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. And the whole conversation, I appreciate everything that you've shared. I just want to say a huge thank you for taking the time again today to be on the show. I really appreciate it. Before we wrap, I just want to give you the opportunity to share any parting wisdom for anybody before we conclude today's show.
Any parting wisdom? I guess the primary thing I would say is wake up every day and make it a focus to enjoy what you're doing, right? Enjoy the people that you work with, treat them well. If you treat your employees well, they'll treat your customers well. If your shop is a place that's fun for people to work, that energy comes through to your customers as well. That would be probably my primary note. Make it a fun place to be every day for everyone.
I love that. Stephanie, what's the best way for people to connect with you if they want to learn more and they got value from this conversation? We obviously can only scratch the surface on things. So what's the best way for them to stay connected to you and to Bullet Automotive and Diesel?
Yeah, they can give us a call at any of our shops. We're online at bullet-automotive.com. They can reach me directly by email at bullet.co@gmail.com. So any of those ways for sure. I love talking with other shop owners. I love to help small businesses. I have a passion and a heart for that as well. Yeah, I'd love to talk to anybody who's interested.
That's great. And for any of our listeners out there, I've had many conversations with Stephanie in these regards over the last year and change. You won't be disappointed. She is an incredible person with a lot of knowledge to share. Unfortunately, we only have limited time on today's show. But if you got value from the conversation and you're out there listening or watching the show, if it's on YouTube, give us a follow, leave us a review, subscribe so that you don't miss future episodes. We're really committed to trying to bring great guests like Stephanie onto the show. If you need any resources or real world marketing help, obviously feel free to reach out to us at honestmechanicmarketing.com. But really, thank you all for listening. Thank you for making this show great. And as always, keep it honest in the garage.
Yeah, you just got to find somebody that wants to put the time in, work hard and wants to grow. The best part about here, all our team, people walk in the door and they're laughing. Their customers are having a good time.
I think too, it's really important from the shop owner's side that the atmosphere is created to be a family business type atmosphere. Even if you're big, you can still have that atmosphere where you know a lot about your employees, and your employees are allowed to know a lot about you, because then that builds a true relationship.